OpenAI's house of cards seems primed to collapse. The U.S. may demand a 5-year social media history from tourists before allowing entry. And the State Department said Calibri font was a DEI hire. It's Thursday, December 11th, and here's a quick look at tech in the news this morning from Engadget. OpenAI is in a far less commanding position than it was following the public release of ChatGPT a few short years ago. Back in 2022, the sudden popularity of ChatGPT sent Google and others into a panic. Well, since then, OpenAI has seen its lead against Google and much of the AI industry evaporate, culminating in a series of successive blows throughout this year. Back on January 20th, the same day that Altman was busy rubbing shoulders with other tech oligarchs at Donald Trump's inauguration, China's DeepSeek quietly released its R1 chain of thought model. A week later, the startup's chatbot surpassed ChatGPT as the most downloaded free app on the U.S. App Store. The overnight success of DeepSeek eliminated $1 trillion worth of stock market value and almost certainly left OpenAI blindsided. In response, the company showed a newfound urgency, releasing both O3 Mini and Deep Research in a week. But for all its new urgency, OpenAI's biggest, most important release of the year was a miss. It's safe to say GPT-5 has not lived up to anyone's expectations, including OpenAI's. The company touted the system as smarter, faster, and better than all of its previous models. But after users got their hands on it, they complained of a chatbot that made surprisingly dumb mistakes and did not have much of a personality. For many, GPT-5 felt like a downgrade compared to the older, simpler GPT-4o. Now, that's a position no AI company wants to be in, let alone one that has taken on as much investment as OpenAI. Anthropic was quick to take advantage of the weakness, signing a deal with Microsoft to bring its Claude models to Copilot 365. However, what will likely go down as the defining moment occurred a few short weeks after OpenAI announced the conclusion of its restructuring. On November 18th, Google released Gemini 3 Pro, and immediately the new model leapfrogged the competition, including GPT-5. As of the writing of this article, Google's new model is at the top of LM Arena, the site where humans compare outputs from different AI systems and vote on the best one. GPT-5, by contrast, is currently ranked 6th overall, behind models from Anthropic and Elon Musk's xAI. According to a December 2nd report from the Wall Street Journal, Sam Altman sent a company-wide memo following the release of Gemini 3 Pro. Echoing the words Google used to describe the situation it found itself against OpenAI back in 2023, he called for a code red effort to improve ChatGPT. Now, OpenAI has an inherent disadvantage against Google. For the search giant, AI may touch everything the company does now, but Gemini is just one product in an extensive portfolio that includes many other popular services. Google can fund its AI advancements with money it makes elsewhere. OpenAI cannot say the same. The company is constantly raising money to stay afloat, and according to a financial roadmap obtained by the Journal, it will need its revenue to grow to about $200 billion annually to become profitable by 2030. In November, Altman said on X the company was on track to hit above $20 billion in annualized revenue this year. In an effort to grow revenue, Altman and company have adopted an incredibly risky strategy. In recent months, OpenAI has signed more than $1.4 trillion worth of infrastructure deals in a bid to outscale the competition that is already beating it. Many of those agreements can only be described as circular, and many think the fears about a financial bubble are real. There is a lot more to this article written by Igor Bonifasic, and you can read it in its entirety at Engadget.com. Tourists from Europe and other regions soon could be asked to provide a 5-year social media history before being given entry to the United States. That's according to a new proposal from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Service. Now, this new rule would affect visitors from countries who normally enjoy relatively easy entry into the U.S. via the Electronic System for Travel Authorization. The new proposal cites an executive order issued by President Trump from January titled Protecting the United States from Foreign Terrorists and Other National Security and Public Safety Threats. In his first year in office, Trump has been hyper-focused on strengthening U.S. borders and reducing what he calls illegal immigration. The U.S. State Department will conduct online presence reviews for applicants and their dependents and require privacy settings on social media profiles to be made public. Applicants must list all the social media handles they've used over the last 5 years, and if any information is omitted, it could lead to the denial of current and future visas. The CBP did not say what information they were looking for or what could be disqualifying. On top of the social media information, CBP may require applicants' telephone numbers and email addresses used over the last 5 and 10 years, respectively, along with information about family members. The mandatory social media reporting and other requirements could discourage travelers. Some Australian tourists who were coming to the U.S. for the upcoming World Cup have now said that they've abandoned those plans, according to The Guardian, with one person calling the new rules horrifying. If implemented, the rule would affect people from 40 countries, including the UK, Ireland, France, Germany, Italy, Australia, and Japan. Now, the largest number of tourists to the U.S. come from Canada and Mexico, accounting for nearly half of the total. However, visitors with passports from those two countries do not require a visa or ESTA approval. The U.S. Department of State is unwinding a 2023 decision to use sans-serif Calibri font on all official communications and switching to Times New Roman instead. That's according to a New York Times report. In a memo obtained by the New York Times titled Return to Tradition, Times New Roman 14-point font required for all department paper, Secretary of State Marco Rubio framed the change as a way to return professionalism to the State Department. He said, switching to Calibri achieved nothing except the degradation of the department's official correspondence. That's because the font is informal and clashes with the State Department's letterhead, according to Rubio, while serif fonts like Times New Roman connote tradition, formality, and ceremony. Former Secretary of State Antony Blinken originally switched the State Department to Calibri in 2023 to improve the accessibility of official communications. The curvy, flourish-free lines of sans-serif fonts work better with assistive technologies like screen readers and text-to-speech tools. Serif fonts, meanwhile, are typically used in things like newspapers to make small, printed text legible. While Rubio noted that Calibri was not among the department's most illegal, immoral, radical, or wasteful instances of DEIA, it seems clear that Rubio lumps the font in with those same diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility initiatives. Getting rid of it is an easy and, weirdly petty way to follow through on the second Trump administration's anti-DEI stance towards just about everything. Thanks for listening. There's more to these stories and more tech news at Engadget.com. This episode featured journalism from Igor Bonifasic, Steve Dent, and Ian Carlos Campbell. And it was produced from the sound studios of Spoken Layer. Enjoy your day, and I'll be back tomorrow with more tech news from Engadget.